Camping. The idea of stepping into the great outdoors to escape the noise of civilization can be alluring. But what if the silence you seek isn't just silence? What if something is watching you, hiding just beyond the glow of your campfire? Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that will make you think twice before pitching your tent in the wilderness. A story that's haunted one camper for years, and may just haunt you too. It started as the perfect weekend getaway. 4 friends, Emma, Jake, Mia, and Ryan, decided to go camping deep in the woods, miles away from the nearest town. They wanted to disconnect, to leave behind the glow of screens and the hum of city life. They packed their gear, loaded up the truck, and drove until the asphalt gave way to dirt roads. By the time they reached their destination, the sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long golden shadows across the dense forest. They set up camp in a clearing surrounded by towering pine trees. The air was crisp and cool, and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of birds. It felt perfect. Or, at least, it should have. As they built their fire and settled in for the night, Ryan noticed something odd. "Did you guys see that?" he asked, pointing towards the edge of the clearing. The others turned to look, but there was nothing there, just darkness. "Probably just an animal," Jake said, brushing it off. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. Later that night, as the fire burned low and the group told stories, Emma suddenly froze. Her eyes were fixed on something beyond the firelight. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. The group fell silent, straining to hear. At first, there was nothing. But then, faintly, from deep in the woods, came the sound of a child's laughter. It was faint, almost carried on the wind, but unmistakable. They all exchanged uneasy glances. "Maybe someone's out here," Mia suggested, though her voice trembled. Jake shook his head. "We're miles from anyone. There's no way a kid is out here in the middle of nowhere." The laughter came again, closer this time. The group huddled together, the cheerful glow of the fire no longer offering any comfort. "We should check it out," Ryan said, grabbing a flashlight. But Emma grabbed his arm. "Let's just stay here. Whatever it is, I don't think we should go looking for it." Reluctantly, the group agreed. They tried to laugh it off, to convince themselves it was just their imaginations. But the laughter continued, circling the clearing, always just out of sight. By midnight, the laughter had stopped, but the forest felt different, heavy. The air seemed colder, the darkness deeper. They decided to call it a night, retreating to their tents in uneasy silence. But sleep didn't come easily. Emma woke first, or rather she was startled awake by the sound of something scraping against her tent. She held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Slowly she reached for the flashlight beside her. As she turned it on, the beam illuminated a shadow just outside the thin fabric of her tent. A tall, lanky figure standing perfectly still. She screamed. The others bolted awake, stumbling out of their tents with flashlights and whatever makeshift weapons they could find. But the clearing was empty. No sign of anyone. Jake tried to calm everyone down. "Maybe it was just a tree or something," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. But Emma was certain of what she saw. It wasn't a tree. It was someone. Or something. The next morning they decided to pack up and leave. But as they gathered their things, Jake noticed something in the dirt near the edge of the clearing. Footprints. Bare footprints. They were too large to belong to a child, yet too narrow to be an adult man. And they circled the campsite. The group hurriedly packed their gear, the sense of being watched growing stronger with every passing moment. As they made their way back to the truck, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being followed. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves sent their hearts racing. Finally, they reached the truck and piled in, relief washing over them as the engine roared to life. But as they drove away, Mia looked back and let out a gasp. Standing at the edge of the road, partially hidden by the trees, was a figure. Tall and thin with unnaturally long arms, it didn't move. It just watched as they disappeared down the road. They made it back to civilization, but the experience stayed with them. Emma refused to go camping again. Jake became obsessed with trying to find logical explanations for what they saw. Ryan stopped talking about it altogether. And Mia, well, Mia claimed she still heard laughter sometimes late at night outside her window. Whatever they encountered in those woods, one thing was certain: it wasn't human. And it's still out there waiting for its next visitors. So, the next time you find yourself camping deep in the woods, remember this story. And if you hear laughter in the distance or see a shadow outside your tent, don't look. Just pack up and leave, because some places are better left undisturbed.